So next up is Lisa Love and Tanoshi, and she's going to tell us about her cool approach to solving and providing equitable access. And the person that I'm going to have give the first answer is Tanika from New Schools Ventures Fund. So Lisa, the platform is yours.
Hi there, I'm Lisa Love, co-founder and CMO of Tanoshi. Next slide, please. I want you to sit back and remember your life 30, 40 years ago when you were in grade school. What if you didn't have access to your own textbooks? Completing homework assignments would be pretty difficult, right? My mom taught in the LA Unified School District for 50 years. She taught in South Central, where oftentimes her students were not performing at grade level. Resources was a major challenge then, and it still is today. Now, in 2020, 16 million students are without a computer or internet access. 800 million students worldwide. Computers are what textbooks were back in the day. Without a computer, kids will fall behind. And with COVID, this is exactly what's happening in lower income communities. The digital divide is widening. Next slide, please. Introducing Tanoshi. Our Tanoshi 2-in-1 computer for kids ages 6 to 12 is an affordable solution priced at $199. With preloaded content, we provide the best out-of-the-box user experience where the internet is not required. Parents love that they can manage their child's screen time all from their phone. We launched in 2018, generated $1.7 million in revenue to date, sold 9,000 units. We are the best-selling kids computer on Amazon and Walmart.com. Next slide, please. We are growing fast. We've sold out 6 times in 2 years. This year, we will hit $2.4 million in revenue, and that's without VC funding. We can keep doubling sales year after year, but if we want to do 10x or more, we need investors. We're looking for a Black or brown lead software engineer. We cannot meet the needs of our customers without a diverse team. Thank you. Next slide, please. My question to the panelists: how can Team Tanoshi work with your team to get Tanoshi computers in the hands of millions of kids?
Lisa, thank you so much. I love your company. I love your name, Tanoshi. It's kind of similar to my name, so I have like another special connection to it because of that. I'll share a little bit about New Schools Venture Fund first. So we fund and support entrepreneurs who are reimagining education, K-12 education specifically. And we want everyone to graduate prepared and inspired to achieve their most ambitious dreams, especially Brown and Black folks. The EdTech investment area that I lead at New Schools, we focus on increasing equity by investing in products that are accelerating positive outcomes for students from historically underserved populations. And the way we look at all of our investments through a diversity, equity, inclusion lens, which has come up throughout the conversations and even in your presentation, Lisa, we think about what is the student impact that your product is having? Is it moving the needle for Black students? Because there are lots of products out there that may be moving the needle for other students or just the average student, but what is it doing specifically for Black students? Who's on your team? Does your team represent the folks, or are they proximate to the folks that they're trying to serve? And then also, we're really focused on what we call equity-centered design. We want to avoid taking bias and systemic racism and building it into the products that our students are using. So as a backdrop, that's what we're focused on. And then in terms of scaling your product and how to get things off, first of all, for you and for all the other entrepreneurs, like I will put my information in the chat so we can follow up. I am so excited to help all of you in any way that I can. One thing that I did want to share just about scaling and things to think about, and some data that we have that's going to be coming out that we did in partnership with Gallup. We did some data, we did a survey last year, and we just put another one in the field to get more fresh perspectives on people's perceptions of ed tech. And since you're focused on parents, one of the questions we asked was, who do you trust most when you're making a decision about, like, what is your trusted resource for making a decision about ed tech? Parents said other teachers overwhelmingly, like by 82%, I think, of parents said it. It's the same across teachers. It's the same across district administrators. So if you're trying to convince people to use your product, you want teacher testimonials. You want them to have testimonials about how it's moving the needle with the students that you're working with. What's interesting is the second highest thing that parents indicated was evidence-based reports. So, which is, it wasn't the second highest for teachers. So if you are trying to make the case for parents to purchase your product, you want it to be clear to them, how is this moving the needle for your student? So those are the, just kind of overarching things. And then another thing is, thinking about something that I think Troy mentioned earlier, your word of mouth messaging. And again, if that's who people are looking to make decisions, you want to make sure that teachers are out there giving testimonials and elevating those testimonies and figuring out ways that they're out speaking to other people, whether it's through their blogs or through other virtual things, to really, support scaling your product. And I know we don't have a whole lot of time, so I'm down to talk offline. And, I'll give you my information and everything so we can continue the conversation.
So can I just add one thing though? Thank you so much for your advice. So our first product, which is basically our MVP, proved market fit, that's been on the market for the past 2 years, that targets the consumer market. However, we are launching our second generation product this fall, which is called the Tanoshi Scholar, which will target schools. Okay. So we will be in the school market.
Okay, great. And with that, I will add the tricky part about that is when you are selling to schools, you may have a different user, a different purchaser, and a different decider.
Yeah.
And so anytime you're trying to scale, you got to be very thoughtful about your messaging to all of those people and, coordinating in your efforts to move things along. And then once they buy your product, you want to be very clear up front. How do you know this product is working if you're using it, so that they can see measures of success throughout? Because another thing that we learned from the data is that the number one reason people stop using products is because they do not see that it's impacting student outcomes. And so you want to have, even if you don't have the gold standard, it takes a year for your product to really show, but you got to have some leading indicators that things are moving in the right direction, and a way to communicate that to the users and the people that are purchasing, early on.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Thanks so much for your advice, and I will take you up on your offer.
Welcome. I'll put in some info about the Gallup survey here, and then also my information for others to reach out to me.